90 plus in science. I welcome you all. Hi, Kavya, Nidhi, Sarthak, Ashi, Pradeep, Tanvi, Neetu. I welcome you all. I believe all of you are doing really great and your studies preparation are up to the mark. I welcome you all once again. All right. So you must be wondering what this session is all about, right? So let me tell you that in this session we are going to discuss. Okay. Hi Pradeep, Nidhi. Yes, I remember you all. I welcome you all to the session. All right. Okay, guys, settle down. So, as I was saying that in this session we are going to share some tips and tricks, the exam pattern, that all the information regarding this particular examination of yours, all of the information will be shared to you. Okay, I welcome you all. Yes. Okay. So, without further ado, let us get started with the session. Yes, exactly, Kanika. So, first of all, let us have a look at the exam pattern of 2019 science, right? So, this year, the exam is going to comprise of, excuse me, right. So, the exam is going to comprise of five sections, that is A, followed by B, C, D, E. The section A will comprise of two questions with 1 mark each. So, the total weightage of section A will be just 2 marks. Okay. If I talk about section B, it will have three questions carrying 2 marks. So its total weightage would be just of 6 marks. So we can say that the section A will be very short answers, right? Okay. So we can just write V, S, and A here. Right. So if I talk about section B, it is again SA type, that is short answer type. Section C will comprise of 10 questions with 3 marks each. So the section C will have 30 marks weightage. If I talk about section D, it will have 6 questions carrying 5 marks. So the most important section is section D, right? Okay. And guys, there is something peculiar about section E. It has 6 questions which carry only 2 marks. That is, the total weightage is just 12. Now, what is exactly peculiar about section E is that it is not your theory based question. It is based upon your practical approach. Okay. So the section E comprises of practical based questions. So you should have a good hold of practical knowledge as well, right? So this is all about the exam pattern of 2019. And yes, this is not the same as your mathematic examination. Your mathematic examination will have different exam patterns. So this is just for your science exam. Okay. Now, as I already told you that this session will be majorly focusing upon how to score maximum marks in minimum time, right? So let us have a look at the important topics of different chapters. Now, if I talk about the chemistry exam, right? If I talk about the physics subject, it comprises 30 marks. And if I look at the questions of the chapters, 10, okay. So out of 30 marks, 10 marks come from light reflection and diffraction chapter, so which basically constitutes 33.3 percentage, right? And if I talk about electricity chapter, out of 30, we have 9 marks more or less from electricity chapter. If I talk about human eye and colorful world, we have 5 marks out of 30. That is human eye and colorful world. And if I talk about the magnetic effects of electric current, 5 marks from that chapter, right? Sources of energy, we can say that only 1 to 2 marks will be from that particular section. Okay, so this is all about your physics section. Cool. Similarly, if I talk about chemistry, right? Palak, the physics session that you saw was 28 marks. So this is, we can say it is the expected exam pattern. Okay, it is the we can say that it is not 100% sure. We are not 100% sure, but yeah, more or less, physics would be around from 28 to 30 marks. Okay. Now, if I talk about chemistry, so we can say that in chemistry, 25 marks questions will come, out of which 3 marks will be from the chapter acid, bases, and salts. 5 marks will be from chemical reactions and equations. 5 marks will be from carbon and its compounds. 7 marks will be from metals and non-metals. And 5 marks will be from periodic classification of elements. So that's basically your 25 marks. Okay. And if I talk about biology, we can say that around 25 to 28 could be from biology section as well. Okay. So out of 25 marks, 5 marks can come from life processes. Okay. 9 marks will be from how do organisms reproduce. If I talk about our environment chapter, this basically constitutes only 2 marks questions. Okay. Yes, including practicals, Rajiv. Okay. And if I talk about heredity and evolution, only 4 marks. Management of natural resources, that basically is 12%, that is 3 marks. And from the chapter control and coordination, the weightage is just 2 marks. So this basically gives you a rough idea in which chapter basically you have to invest your maximum time, right? Okay, so this is all about the weightage of marks, the distribution of marks from physics, chemistry, and maths. Varun, just hold your horses. We are going to talk about numericals also, right? Now, if I'm going to talk about the important topics in physics, just have a look at it. This gives you a sorted data in which topic do you have to invest your maximum time in, right? If I talk about the electricity chapter, the important topics are Ohm's law and the numericals based on it. Okay, so you don't have to just, you can say, direct your focus on Ohm's law, but also you have to prepare numericals on it. Okay, if I talk about like Ohm's law, then you should also be worried about the factors affecting resistance of a conductor. Okay. Yes, we are going to talk about diagrams also. Guys, you have to just wait for 45 minutes. After this session, you will be able to, like, all the doubts would be cleared. Okay. Just hold your horses. Now, if I talk about series and parallel combination of resistances, yes, you have to focus on this topic also. You have to focus upon resistivity also. You have to focus on circuit based questions. Okay, so from the electricity chapter, these are the topics you cannot, like, you cannot afford to lose. Okay, you have to direct your focus on such topics. If I talk about magnetic effects of electric current, from this chapter, AC generator and DC generator and DC motor, so these three topics are important. Domestic electric circuits are important. The electromagnet is important. Earth wire, live wire, and short circuit. So these three topics are also very important. Okay. So from, like, two chapters are clear now. Now we are going to talk about sources of energy. Right. If I talk about sources of energy, we should know that characteristics of fuel, like, although the weightage is just from 1 to 2 marks, but yeah, 1 and 2 marks are also very important. Yes, so if you want to score 1 to 2 marks, like, if you want to skip this topic, I would rather suggest that instead of skipping, you can at least learn these four topics. Okay, that is characteristics of fuel, biomass, solar cooker, and solar cell. Right, so these four topics are very important from sources of energy. Now, If I talk about the chapter light, reflection and refraction, image formation by spherical mirrors and lenses, this topic is actually very important. Okay. And numericals on mirror formula and the lens formula is again very important. Numericals on Snell's law, sorry, and refractive index are again very important. Okay. Yes, you surely can 100, you can get 100 out of 100, but at least focus on the session. Then only you will be able to get that. Okay. So this was all about from the light reflection and refraction chapter. Now let us talk about the last chapter, human eye and the colorful world, right? So from this, five topics are very important. The first one is human eye and its defect, numerical based upon eye defects, refraction through prism, rainbow formation, and advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. So you should know, you should read the theory about advanced sunrise and delayed sunset. Why does it happen? And you should know how to summarize that theory in words. Okay. So this is all about the important topics of physics. And I can say that it is like in this particular section, we have focused upon the subtopics of a particular chapter. Okay. Now, let us talk about chemistry now. This is something that most of you find difficulty in, right? So from the chapter metals and non-metals, which is again very important, the reactivity series and the displacement reactions are must. This is very important. Okay. The second one is extraction and refining of metals, calcination and roasting. So these three topics you must do in order to prepare for metals and non-metals. Okay. And if I talk about the second chapter, that is carbon and its compounds, we should know the nomenclature of carbon compounds. This is something you cannot afford to lose. Carbon nomenclature of carbon compounds, formation and properties of ethanol and ethanoic acid, again an important part. Cleansing action of soap and detergent, this is something I believe you already know, but again you should know basically how to summarize the theory in words. Fourth is saponification and esterification. What do you mean by them? And you should know the differences between them. Do you know the difference between saponification and esterification? I believe you do. Okay. Isomerism and homologous series, again an important part. You should know the types of reaction in carbon and its compound. You must be knowing this thing, that addition, combination, oxidation, substitution, these are the types of reaction. Okay. You must have also heard of hydrogenation. That's a part of addition reaction, right? Yeah. If I talk about the third chapter, that is periodic classification of elements, then Mendeleev's and modern periodic table. This is very important. Basically, how we shifted from Mendeleev's to modern, what were the drawbacks of Mendeleev's, what are the drawbacks of modern, what are the postulates of modern. These are the things that you should know. You should also know the trends in modern periodic table, like as we go from left to right, what happens if we move from top to bottom, what happens, right? So these are the things you should know, and the applications based questions. Okay. So these three topics are important from periodic classification of elements. If I talk about the chemical reactions and equations, balancing chemical equations are very important. You should know how to balance a chemical reaction, whether a particular equation is balanced or not. You should also know the types of reactions, right? In the types of reaction, let's say combination, decomposition, disproportionate, for example, decomposition reaction is very important. You should also know about the redox reaction, that is oxidation and reduction happening simultaneously, right? Yes, yes, we'll come to biology also, Mohit, do not worry. If I talk about acid, bases, and salts, importance of pH and the salts and their nature, the nature of their oxides, whether a particular oxide will be acidic, basic, or neutral. You should know the differences between them. Reactions of acids and bases with salts, with metals, I'm sorry. neutralization reactions, and the chemicals from common salt. What are their chemical name? What are their chemical formula? Right? Water of crystallization is again an important topic. So I believe from the chemistry section, everything is clear. Let us move to the most important bio section. Now, if I talk about biology, from the life processes, photosynthesis, digestion, respiration, transportation in animals, transportation in plants, and excretion, these six topics are must thing. You should learn, you should read everything about them, because these six topics are really very important from this particular chapter. If I talk about control and coordination in animals and plants, what are their mechanism, how basically this thing happens, you should be well thorough with. Tropic movements in plants and animal hormones, control and coordination in animals, nervous system, voluntary, involuntary, what do you mean by them, what are the differences between them, and reflex section. And yes, chemical coordination is again an important topic. Right. Now, again, let us move further. How do organisms reproduce? You should know the difference, the reproduction in animals and plants, the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. You should also know safe sex versus HIV and AIDS, right? So these are the very important topics, and yes, you have to prepare for them as well. If I talk about the most simplest chapter in the biology section, that is our environment, environmental problems and ozone depletion is a very hot topic. Questions can be asked from this particular topic. The second is ecosystem, biodegradable and non biodegradable substances, waste production and their solutions. Okay. Yes, watch now. We'll be discussing that also. Just give me a moment. Now, if I talk about management of natural resources, conservation and judicious use of natural resources, coal and petroleum conservation is important. Sustainability of natural resources, again, an important topic. Big dams, what are their advantages, limitations, examples of people's participation in conservation of natural resources, and forest and wildlife. If I talk about the other chapter, heredity and evolution, you should know what heredity is. You should know the Mendel's contribution, right? You should also know the laws for inheritance of traits, and you should be well versed with the sex determination also, and basic concepts of evolution. Okay. Now, this is something like what important topics are. Now we are going to divide a particular chapter into theory based questions and practical based questions, right? So let us quickly have a look at that also. Now, if I talk about physics, in the electricity chapters, the theory based questions can come from these particular types. And what about the practical based questions? So this is something which constitutes your section E, right? Studying the dependence of potential difference V across a resistor on the current passing through it and determine its resistance. Also, you have to plot a graph between V and I. So the questions based upon such experiments can be asked. Okay. And the determination of the equivalent resistance of two resistors when they are connected in series or different combination like parallel, the questions can come from this type also. If I talk about human eye and colorful world, the theory based questions can come from these topics: human eye and its various parts, defects of vision and their correction. And the practical based questions can come from the tracking of path of the rays of light through a glass prism. Okay. Yes, Pradeep. Okay, so this is all about your human eye. If I talk about light, practical based questions cannot be formed from this particular chapter, so only the theory based questions will come. and the like the ray diagram, Snell's law. These are the things we have already discussed. Cool. So let us move further now. If I talk about magnetic effects of electricity, these are the theory based questions and important topics. These are the things we have already discussed. So, practical based questions cannot be found from these particular chapters as well as from the sources of energy. Okay, so we are going to stick with only theory based question. All right. Now, from the chemistry, if I talk about chemical reactions and equations, guys, the theory based questions can come from balancing of chemical equation, color of the precipitate, the type of reactions. Now, the practical based questions can come from the action of water on quicklime, action of heat on ferrous sulfate crystals, iron nails kept in copper sulfate solution, whether the reaction is going to take place or not, or if it is going to take place, what is the reason behind it, the reaction between sodium sulfate and barium chloride solution. So that's basically your displacement reactions, right? So these are the like not directly but indirectly the questions can be asked. Now, if I talk about acid, bases, and salts, theory based questions we have already discussed, like the topics we have already discussed. From the practical based questions, the pH of the following sample, like what will be the pH and what will be the effect of these chemicals on litmus paper. So it can be asked directly. So these are basically your practical based questions. And the properties of acids and bases, what will be the effect on litmus solution, sodium carbonate solution, zinc metal. So they can be asked. Now, if I talk about carbon and its compounds, from the practical based questions, the properties of acetic acid, what will be the odor, what will be the solubility in water, what will be the effect on litmus paper, and the reaction with sodium hydrogen carbonate. Okay, so basically the reaction of ethanoic acid, what does it smell like, how does it smell like, what will be the effect on and solubility. Questions can be asked from this like particular type. Okay. All right, Ritika, thank you so much. And the study of the comparative cleaning capacity of a sample of soap in soft and hard water. So, whether there is leather formation or not, it can be directly asked, and what is the reason behind it. Fine. From the metals and non-metals, the practical based questions, the observation on the action of zinc, iron, or different metals on the following salts, right? So these are important. And basically, the reactivity series is really very important. If I talk about the periodic classification of elements, this basically constitute your theory based question. No practical based questions can be asked from this one. So no need to worry. From the biology section, the control and coordination, no practical based question can be asked. So again, chill. From the heredity and evolution, no practical based question can be asked. So you no need to worry about it. If I talk about how do organisms reproduce, yes, from this particular chapter, practical based questions can be formed, like the reproduction of amoeba and yeast. So, what kind of reproduction takes place in amoeba and yeast, and the properties of that, it could be directly or indirectly asked. If I talk about life processes, yes, from this particular chapter also, practical based questions can be formed, like preparing a temporary mount of a leaf peel to show stomata. Experimentally show the carbon dioxide is given out during respiration. Okay. So, yes, again, from the life processes, we have discussed practical based questions. Yes, from the management of natural resources, only theory based questions can be asked. From the environment, from our environment chapter, yes, again, theory based questions can be asked. So, no need to worry about the practical based questions from these two chapters. Now, this is something really very important, and you were asking about it in the initial phase of the session, the important diagrams in physics, chemistry, and biology, right? So, in physics, the ray diagrams of spherical mirrors and lenses can be asked to draw and label them, right? Ray diagrams for the correction of eye defects, by basically which diagram you have to show it, it can be asked. AC generator and DC generator, and yes, the DC motor. The diagrams of these particular topics can be asked directly or indirectly, right? The biogas plant, you have to go through biogas plant also. Not the exact diagram that is mentioned in your NCRT, but yeah, in a way you can draw the flow chart also, okay? Or you can draw a rough diagram in order to show the biogas plant. Human eye and solar cooker. All right. So these are the important diagrams from the section physics. If I talk about important diagrams in chemistry, the electrolysis of water is really very important, guys. Okay. Direct questions have come in the past also, and it could be asked also in the future, how basically the electrolysis of water takes place. Lewis dot structures of various compound, like the NaCl, sorry, the Lewis dot structure of NaCl can be asked, MgCl2 can be asked, the covalent bonding by Lewis dot structure can be asked. So these are the topics, again, really very important as far as diagram point of view is considered. If I talk about electrolytic refining, yes, again, a very important topic for diagrams point of view. Okay. If I talk about the important diagrams in biology, human alimentary canal is very important. Structure of human heart. This is something really very important. Guys, you should know how, what important chambers of heart are, how many chambers are there, right? And what are their names? You should be well aware of that. The structure of nephron, you should learn. Structure of human brain is important. Fertilization process in flowers is important. Human male and female reproductive systems is a very important topic. Human respiratory system, cross section of a leaf is important. Nutrition in amoeba is important. Excretory system and structure of neuron also. Germination of pollen on stigma, how basically it happens, you have to show it via diagram. Budding in hydra and binary fission in amoeba. So these are the diagrams you cannot afford to lose, guys, as I've already mentioned, and are really very important. Okay. Now, this is all about the topics that you have to prepare in order to score maximum marks, right? In minimum amount of time invested. But in order to, you can say, go through the preparation part, you should be also how to do the time management, right? So for this, what we can do here is, just give me a moment. So more or less, your first exam is from 7th, right? And that is for your mathematics. And today is 21. So that's your today's date, right? From 21 to 7, let us say from 1st to 7th, you are going to invest all of your time in the subject mathematics, right? But what about the other time? From 21 to 28, you have more or less 7 days. Okay. You have 7 days in between. So, how can you basically prepare? So, I'm going to divide these 7 days in three, two, and two. Okay. I'm going to divide your 7 days in three, two, and two. And correspondingly, I'm going to write here three keywords, that is poor, or wait, poor, average, and good. What are those? So that's basically shows how good are you at a particular subject. For example, let us take any person here. Let's say Surya. Let's say Surya is not good at physics. So Surya is going to invest 3 days, first 3 days in physics. All right. So first 3 days will be invested in your least prepared subject. Okay, you are going to invest your 3 days in least prepared subject. Last 2 days, like you can say, two and a half in a poor prepared lecture or subject, and 2.5 to 2 days you can invest in your average prepared subject or topic, right? So let's say if you are bad at physics, you can invest 3 days. If you are average at chemistry, you can uh, allow yourself 2 days for that, for the preparation part. And if you're good at physics or let's say biology, then you can invest just 1 day in that, and rest 1 day will be just for your preparation or revision. All right. So as we have already discussed, just give me a second, guys. Okay, right. So there was some sort of technical issue here. Okay, so as I was telling you that you can manage your time accordingly depending upon how well prepared you are in a particular topic, right? Okay, so depending upon how well prepared are you in a particular topic, you can invest your time accordingly. Okay, so if I talk about, yeah, so my suggestion would be that you have to just stick to your NCRT. First of all, you need to do your NCRT fully. And once you are done with your NCRT, then only go for your sample paper or any reference book. Okay. Yeah, for biology, I have already discussed that, these are the topics really very important. You can skip others also. But yeah, if you have prepared all of these, then only go for the structure of brain. Okay, you should keep these diagrams at your highest priority, then only go for the other one. Okay, all right. And yes, in chemistry, we can discuss the electrolysis of water. Guys, the point is you have to first of all prepare these diagrams at your highest priority, and then only you go for the other topics for the diagrams point of view. All right. So if I talk about section A, B, C, D, E, section A comprises VSA, as I've already discussed. So you are not going to invest your maximum time here. You just have to write one word answer, or like, you don't have to explain here much. Fine. If I talk about section B, you again do not have to write much. You can write up to 30 to 60 words in section B. If I talk about section C, these are your long type answer. If I talk about section D, these are your VLA, right? So section C and section D, depending upon your ease, you can attempt either section C or D first of all. But yeah, just keep the pattern in mind. For example, you have to, if you're attempting from section E, just follow the pattern EDCBA. If you're attempting section A first of all, then go for A to E. Do not mix your sections. That's a humble request, because it basically creates a bad impression. All right. So from section E, we have discussed all the questions and all the topics which are really very important from practical approach. All right. So that's all about the today's session. I wish you all the best. And yes, do well in your exam. All the tips and tricks what we have shared here are going to be very helpful for you. You can score maximum marks, guys. You know, assure you, you can score maximum marks in minimum amount of time invested. All right. So all the best. Take care and bye bye.